Hello guys. Welcome to my channel, Anime Dreams. Today's fanfic topic is, what if Sasuke and Hinata became missing nin together? Part 2. Disclaimer, the content on this channel is for entertainment and discussion purposes only. I do not own any of the anime footage used in my videos. All rights and credits go to their respective creators and copyright holders. Let's dive in, guys. Earlier that day, Hinata sighed with relief. She felt embarrassed in front of Sasuke, knowing she needed to face him, but now wasn't the right time. She hadn't expected Naruto to be there, seeing him again after so long stirred old memories. Hinata, I don't know what she started to say, but quickly shook her head to clear the unwanted thoughts. Determined, she headed toward Team 8's training grounds, having heard that Shino was back from a mission. It had been a while since she last spoke with Kiba and Kurenai-sensei, as she had been preoccupied with Hyuga clan matters. Recently, there had been many discussions about the clan heiress and her marriage, and Hinata suspected the council was up to something. Even if they chose Hanabi as the heiress, Hinata would gladly accept it, feeling happy that her little sister would lead the clan. However, she resented the council for belittling her abilities and skills. She knew their behavior stemmed from her defiance since the war, where her Byakugan's extraordinary range had shocked everyone. For the first time, the clan decided to train her, but she declined their offer. She had faced years of hate and insults, and now, when they realized her worth, she refused to join them. Instead of following the traditional Hyuga training, Hinata chose to learn medical ninjutsu, fully aware that it would anger her clan. Hyugas were expected to be warriors and strong ninjas from birth, as their ideology dictated. Her own father, Hiashi Hyuga, had forbidden her from practicing medical ninjutsu, deeming it unfit for the clan's eldest. But she followed her own path, which the clan viewed as disobedience. It was a shame to them that the eldest wasn't a strong warrior who underwent the renowned Hyuga training. Consequently, they decided to suppress her by arranging her marriage to a compliant suitor as soon as possible. Hinata played along with their marriage plans, but they never imagined she would choose a missing nin. For who in the world could possibly tame an Uchiha? It would be the perfect response to the Hyuga who always tried to belittle and underestimate her. Now, if they came to seal her, she would give them a taste of their own medicine. Hinata. Turning towards the source of the noise, she saw Kiba and Shino waving at her. Shino appeared in a long-sleeved shirt, pants, and dark sunglasses, with his headband on his forehead. Kiba wore bold colors and a long-sleeved shirt, proudly displaying his headband on his forehead, with Akamaru by his side. Brushing away her thoughts, she waved back at them. Kiba skidded to a stop right in front of her with a wide grin, while Shino walked slowly behind him. "How have you been, Hinata?" Kiba asked. "Kiba-kun, Shino-kun," Hinata smiled as she shook their hands. "How was the mission, Shino-kun?" Shino smiled back. "It was fine, although we found it troublesome." "Hey, you sound like Shikamaru, Shino," Kiba said, leaning back and yawning lazily, covering his mouth with his hand. Hinata giggled. It was nice to reunite with her team. Team 8 was her second family, and over the years, they had formed a special bond. Kiba and Shino were her best friends. "Say, Hinata, how about we go to Sensei's house?" Kiba smiled, patting her head. "I'm sure she'll make some delicious meals. I can't keep torturing my stomach anymore." "Arf arf." Akamaru barked in agreement as Hinata patted his head. He too was feeling hungry. Shino sighed. Sometimes, he wondered if Kiba lived to eat. As if reading his thoughts, Hinata laughed while Kiba and Akamaru glared at him. They all walked to their sensei's house, chatting happily along the way. Yuhi Kurenai was surprised to see her students. "Kiba, Shino, Hinata, it's about time you all visited me. I was starting to think you forgot your sensei." "Oh, come on sensei, we're here now, aren't we?" Kiba gave a toothy grin, which Kurenai responded to by smacking his head. "Unless you feel hungry, isn't that right, Kiba?" asked the teacher. Shino sighed as Kiba pretended to be in pain while Hinata hugged her sensei. "Hinata, you're the only one who really cares about me," Kurenai said, giving her student a motherly smile after hugging her. "Ayano-sensei, I'm sorry I didn't visit more often." "It's okay, dear, I was just joking." "Come inside," said the teammate teacher, stepping aside to let her students in. The room felt cozy, with couches lined along one side and a television set across from it, with windows behind and curtains drawn. "How is Mirai, sensei?" Shino asked as his friends seated themselves on the couch. They all knew that their sensei had a hard time managing Mirai and teaching at the academy. Mirai was a powerhouse, full of energy, and could even keep up with Naruto. That little girl was a ray of sunshine in Kurenai's life. She is at the daycare with other kids. She loves spending time there, although she complains that you three don't come to play with her, Kurenai said as she served biscuits and tea for her students. "Sensei, I wanted to meet Mirai-chan and play with her, but the clan is keeping me busy," Hinata said while watching Kurenai set the teacups on the table. "Don't worry, Hinata, I understand." Kiba stopped munching the biscuits as he heard what his friend said. "Hinata, what does the Hyuga Council want now? Is everything okay?" Shino too nodded. He wanted to know if Hinata is facing clan issues. Hyuga always sidelined and refused to acknowledge their friend, over the years. This infuriated both to a great extent that they decided to protect Hinata from the clan and its orders. Hinata smiled nervously at all of them as she drank the tea. She felt the atmosphere in the room turn serious as three pairs of eyes focused on her. Now they were worried about her. She shouldn't have mentioned it. But she could not go back now. "No, Kiba-kun, Shino-kun, everything is all right. They are now going to decide the clan heir." All three gasped. Selecting a clan heir means sealing the other. "No, they are not going to do that, right?" Kiba glowered, to which Shino touched his shoulder telling him to calm down. Kurenai inquired worriedly with a calmer tone, "Hinata, are they going to seal you?" Hinata knew this question was coming. She didn't feel bad when her team assumed that she would be sealed. She knew everybody thought Hanabi as a more capable heir than her. She had been accustomed to this from years. But hearing it from her own teammates and sensei had hurt her a bit. As if reading her thoughts, Kurenai gasped slightly, "Oh Hinata, I really didn't mean that." Aye. "Sensei, it's okay. It was going to happen this way. I already knew it." Hinata smiled, trying to comfort her sensei. "We will talk to the council. Shino and Kurenai-sensei will convince your father," Kiba aggressively demanded in an attempt to help Hinata from the fate the clan has decided. "Yes, Hinata, what Kiba said is right. We will talk to him." Shino too supported Kiba's decision. They could never see her sealed. Hinata smiled at her teammates as she held her sensei's hand. "Thank you so much. You all are my only support, but father is trying to find a way out of this." "Hinata, you don't," Kurenai tried convincing her, but Hinata beat her to it. "Sensei, don't worry about me. No matter what happens, I will never allow myself to get sealed. I will not allow the clan to decide my fate. It is a promise I made to myself long ago." Kurenai realized that she no longer was the little shy girl she once knew. Right now, she could see a new strength and confidence in her student. Hinata had changed a lot, which she failed to notice as a teacher. Perhaps it was for the best. On realizing this, her eyes gleamed with tears as she spoke, "Hinata, I'm proud of you. No matter what your decision is, I will be there for you in the end." Kiba was about to interrupt when Shino cut in, "Kiba, we should respect her decision. I'm sure she will get through this." Shino knew Hinata well. But after seeing her confidence in herself, he trusted her with her decisions. If she met the Uchiha that day, then there must be something important. He was sure she has found a way out of this problem. A solution that has something to do with the Uchiha. No matter what it is, he knew Hinata will surely tell him one day. Until then he will wait and support her. Hinata didn't know what to say. She hugged all three of them as tears betrayed her face. She was lucky, but then she felt bad she didn't tell them the truth. Silently she prayed, closing her eyes tightly as she had only one thing to wish for. Dot. 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 Kami-sama, Okaa-san, I hope they won't resent me when I make my choice. All these years, the only thought that gently warmed her insides was that she would get Sasuke-kun to notice her. Not as something he needed to protect, but as a woman who could love and care him. She had hated the girl who had spread the rumor that Sasuke-kun's ideal type of girl was one with long hair, pretty, strong and confident, because she had ensured that she passed every single criteria, yet the most she had ever received from him had been annoying. The idea of being together with Sasuke had become almost impossible when he had decided to leave the village for revenge. When the news hit her, she had spent days mourning over his absence. But instead of hating him for everything, her love and attachment towards Sasuke had only doubled. No matter how many times Ino laughed and deemed her love for him as a childish quest, she would never agree to that. Over the years, she tried to be the perfect woman anybody would want. She worked hard to excel in every field. Whenever she felt she couldn't go more, she would think about the day Sasuke will come back to Konoha and acknowledge her efforts. The thought of impressing him had made her to achieve even the impossible. She went on to become Lady Tsunade's apprentice and took up the intense training for years. Following in her master's footsteps, she grew stronger, inevitably surpassing Tsunade in medicine and strength. She wasn't the same little Sakura who used to rely on Naruto, Sasuke or Kakashi for help and watch their battles from sidelines. Now she could proudly say who she was because she had an identity that the world knows. The cherry-haired girl smiled at her musings as she ran over the streets of Konoha. A few minutes ago at the hospital, when one of her patients told her that he saw the former missing nin walking through the city market, her joy knew no bounds that she had quickly raced over to see him. Ever since Sasuke had been released by the Konoha Council, he would never come out of his house. No matter how many times she and Naruto would try to find him, he would always escape from them, or rather escape from her. Panting, she smiled at the handsome sight before her. The cool air blew her pink strands as she approached the only man she had waited for all these years. Sasuke-kun. Sasuke stopped in his tracks, puzzled as to why she was here. She was the last one he had wanted to see. Her emerald eyes crinkled with a smile as they met his, like she'd been expecting him. All pink bangs were swept off to the side, kept in place by a red headband, and her hair was shorter than the last time he saw her. Sakura always looked like a walking cherry blossom tree to him. Hesitantly, Sasuke pushed his thoughts aside as she approached towards him and Naruto. Sasuke-kun. Her voice practically sang the words, the loving melody proving how joyed she was to see him. Sakura, he acknowledged. Even before he could ask why she was here, the stupid Dobi beat him to it. Where the hell have you been, Sakura-chan? Naruto asked. I was starting to think that you were gonna ditch us. I had to finish up some work at the hospital, Sakura replied and raised an accusing finger at the blonde teammate. Not all of us run around doing whatever we want without regard to anything else. Naruto pretended to lightly smack Sasuke's back, when the latter glared back. No need to be so mean, Sakura-chan. He crossed his arms and puffed his cheeks like a child. Besides, that sounds like you're describing Sasuke, not me. He is the one who walks around with a stick up his ass and does things without any regard. Sasuke's eye twitched at the accusation. You better not make me repeat the same thing that happened 10 minutes ago. The Uzumaki winced, remembering the painful punch he got from Sasuke. Sakura laughed, looking at Naruto's constipated face, to which Sasuke arched his eyebrows. A blush rose to her cheeks and she looked away from him as she tucked a lock of pink hair behind her ear. His handsome face was too much to handle for her little heart. I thought maybe we all should go for a lunch together. What do you say, Naruto? Naruto jumped up in the air as Sakura proposed the idea. Yes, Sakura-chan. I have been waiting for our team reunion lunch. I can't wait to celebrate, isn't it, Sasuke team? Sasuke inwardly groaned as his teammates made stupid reunion plans. He didn't sign up for this shit, but the more he resists, the more he will have the Dobi behind his back. So he decided to go with them only for this one time. HN. Sakura was dejected as Naruto didn't get the hint exactly. She had wanted to have a lunch date with Sasuke, but this idiot here wanted to have lunch with them. She mentally facepalmed herself for having great expectations from Naruto. She didn't want Naruto to tag along, but Sasuke would only come if Naruto was there. A smile etched on her face as an idea struck her. "Say, Sasuke-kun, can we have one more person come along with us to the lunch? It would be fun to be in pairs." Even before Sasuke could react to her legendary idea, Naruto replied, "That's right, Sakura-chan. More the number, more is the fun." Sakura was on cloud 9, and for once she thanked the gods for making Naruto understand her plan. She was happy that now she could get a chance with Sasuke, but she had to think about the girl who will be tagging along with Naruto. If Ino tagged along, then her dream of having a date with Sasuke will be impossible. She could just imagine what would happen if Ino Pig would come. "Sasuke-kun, I was waiting all these years for you to take me out on a date. A handsome man like you needs a beautiful and stunning woman like me. This selfish forehead had kept you away from me, but in the end we will be together forever." The thought of Ino Pig blabbering all that and latching onto Sasuke's arm, her head resting on his chest and she feeding him with ice cream and cakes, made Sakura want to jump off a cliff. No. No matter what, Ino Pig should not come with them. Otherwise that blonde witch will have Sasuke all to herself. Then, there was Tenten. Tenten was not like Ino, so she shouldn't be afraid, but still Tenten doesn't get along with them. The brown-haired girl was extremely blunt and honest when it came to things like this. Sakura felt that Tenten would most likely pick an argument with Sasuke and he would walk out eventually. Then the last one who was left was Hinata. The blue-haired girl was soft-spoken, polite, and always looked at Naruto. Perfect. Hinata-chan could draw Naruto's attention from them and it wouldn't disturb her and Sasuke's date. Sakura smiled happily as she found a mind-boggling plan. "But Sakura-chan, I don't think Kakashi-sensei would be free today for lunch," Naruto said while running his hand through his hair. Sakura nodded while thinking about her plans but froze when she heard the name Kakashi. "Naruto, why would you want Kakashi-sensei to come to lunch with us?" "Sakura-chan, it's a Team 7 meet and you said we need to be in even numbers." For once in his entire life, Sasuke wanted to praise Naruto for being this dumb. He was contented to find Sakura look like she couldn't help but go and bang her head somewhere. Sakura regretted praising Naruto. She felt like punching his face, but she controlled herself because Sasuke was standing here too. She didn't want Sasuke to see her burst like a volcano. "Naruto, I was not talking about Kakashi-sensei. Why don't we get a girl to tag along?" "I don't think it's needed, Sakura. I'm not interested in stupid lunch plans," Sasuke said before Sakura goes on. "But Sasuke-kun, we need to go for a lunch. It's been years since we have gathered. I wanted a girl to tag along because it would be nice if there were 2 boys and 2 girls. Come on team, stop making Sakura-chan sad. What are you going to lose if you come for one lunch with us, Sasuke?" Naruto said, narrowing his eyes at Sasuke. Sasuke turned his head away from Naruto. "Sanity, HN. Sakura-chan, don't mind team. Even if I have to beat the shit out of him, I will bring him for lunch. So who are you going to bring?" "How about Hinata-chan? I'll ask her when she is free and then we all can go for an awesome lunch," Sakura said cheerfully. The name Hinata had made both Naruto and Sasuke freeze. Sakura watched Naruto's face turn blank when she mentioned the Hyuga girl. It was then she regretted it. She cursed herself for being inconsiderate about Naruto. She had only thought about herself and Sasuke. "Naruto, I am." Naruto looked at Sakura and smiled slightly as he could see her sad. "But it's been so long, Naruto, you shouldn't." Sakura couldn't continue as Naruto interrupted her. "You shouldn't worry, Sakura-chan." For the first time in his life, Sasuke felt like he was a stranger to them. No, a stranger to Naruto. He knew something had happened with him and Hinata, but the fact that Naruto chose to keep it hidden from him hurt it a bit. He didn't know why his chest tightened. Was it seeing Naruto hide something from him or that Hinata was involved in it? Naruto looked at Sasuke as he felt those black orbs gaze at him. He knew Sasuke's questioning look but chose not to address it. He didn't want to, as the sight of Hinata and Sasuke earlier didn't sit right with him. Sakura noticed the tension between Sasuke and Naruto. She didn't understand why Naruto was reluctant to talk to Sasuke of all people. Further, she didn't miss the way Sasuke's face looked conflicted when she mentioned Hinata's name. Sakura feared something is wrong. Even before Naruto could walk away, Sakura caught his arm and spoke, trying to cheer him up. "Naruto, everything is going to be all right." Those blue eyes looked up at the sky as he shook his head and walked away from her. "No, Sakura-chan. Sometimes, fate of our lives is beyond our plans and we are bound to accept it." Sakura watched Naruto disappear into the crowd, so did Sasuke turn back and walk away. She had a gut feeling, all this had something to do with Hinata. The pink-haired girl sighed. She watched Sasuke walk away and decided to follow him, but the latter abruptly stopped walking. "Sakura, I want to be alone." "But Sasuke-kun, I want to." Her words were cut short because of his crystal-clear look. Sakura stood there watching him walk away. He was so near yet so far to her. Sasuke reached his apartment and found a letter in his lonely mailbox. The letter apparently was an invitation from the Yamanaka clan to attend the birthday party of that blondie. No clans, no people dared to invite him to functions, yet this one had the audacity to send him a letter that had ended with ... "Sasuke-kun, do come for the party. Will be waiting for you. Your one and only precious Ino Yamanaka." Sasuke gritted his teeth reading the end. He opened his door and threw the letter on the table as a myriad of thoughts ran through his head. For now, what he needed was freedom from the council and its restrictions. He has to attend the function, for it will be a chance to meet that Hyuga. To know further would go to any extent to achieve what he wants. Even if it was marriage to the Hyuga for convenience. Even if she had something to do with Naruto. Sasuke closed his eyes as he stood in his balcony, feeling the strong winds blowing. In the end, what are we going to gain? Or rather, what are we going to lose? The hall was decorated with purple flowers and ribbons. From lavish food to dance party, the Yamanaka clan was really into making Ino's birthday an exorbitant function. Hinata loved the vibe here. It was so joyful and exciting. She found Sakura, Tenten and Ino giggling and gossiping. On the other side, Naruto was challenging Lee and Neji to a drinking competition. Sai and Shikamaru were pretty engaged in a serious discussion while all their senseis were busy laughing and talking about their students. Was a happy moment for everybody, but he was missing. Pearly eyes looked around for him, and saw him sitting alone at a table, with a bottle of sake. Kiba loudly started grumbling about how the ex-missing nin had dared show up. "He's part of Team 7, Hinata murmured, "and he's not a missing nin anymore." "He is, Hinata." "What do you know?" Kiba said loudly, and she winced as heads turned their way. Kiba was her friend, but Sasuke was too, even though no one else was aware of their agreement. She became aware of the looks people were giving Sasuke and of the murmurs and counter-murmurs. She bit her lips nervously. "You talk as if Uchiha has never done any wrong," Kiba snarled and seemed ready to continue, when Shino interfered and told him to behave. Hinata walked towards Sasuke, leaving Shino and Kiba staring in her. Could feel curious and unfriendly glances directed towards her, and she swallowed nervously. "Uchiha-san?" she asked politely, hoping that she didn't disturb him. Sasuke looked up, his eyes meeting hers as she smiled. "HN, I thought you wanted to avoid me," he said idly, and she felt her hackles rise. She sat down, pressing her lips together, well aware of Kiba's glares and of muted whispers. She knew he was talking about the time they briefly met at the training grounds. "I was embarrassed to face you that day." She bit her lips nervously as she told, "You are drunk." "How can you tell?" "You don't like talks." Sasuke chuckled. "Observant." "I didn't think you will show up, Uchiha-san," She timidly asked him. If the so-called beautiful and gorgeous heiress of Yamanaka clan sends a personal invitation, who wouldn't? He grumbled. Hinata laughed quietly. She knew this was one of Sasuke's ways to crack a joke. When should we disclose, Hyuga? He asked quietly. She was startled at the sudden change of track. Well? She faltered. We should, although my father wouldn't approve, she admitted slowly. And my teammates. They would want explanations and pester me and threaten you and. She shook her head as if to clear her head of thoughts. Sasuke was looking at her narrowly. Well, you are regretting it, isn't it, Hyuga? What? No. Her cheeks burned. I want you to speak to father about us, Uchiha-san, before the clan passes its decision about my future, resumed, looking at him timidly, if that's okay with you. Sasuke shrugged, to which she smiled happily. No, I won't regret my decision. It is always better than the clans. She told him, slightly blushing. Smirking, Sasuke poured out a glass of sake and pushed it towards her. Although I would enjoy seeing your father's constipated face when he knows his obedient princess chose a missing nin. Hinata nearly choked. Sasuke? She spluttered reproachfully. Those pearl-like eyes widened to saucers, her pale face flushed with heat and her mouth dropped slightly in surprise. Her actions were so amusing at times, it was so easy to get a reaction out of her concerning the most simple of things. Unknown to them, a masked face was watching them with clear astonishment. Hatake Kakashi was amused to find the Hyuga heiress chatting with the Uchiha. Well, it was not a everyday sight to see his bad boy student chatting with someone without getting annoyed. He watched their interaction and found it interesting. He never knew Sasuke could get along with someone for straight 15 minutes. Hatake smirked to himself at his new discovery and walked towards his student. Hinata excused herself as Kakashi and Sasuke talked. She didn't want to disturb them. Just when she made it to the next table, somebody caught her hand and dragged her to a corner. When she finally regained her balance, she saw a very pissed-off Neji. What were you thinking, Hinata-sama? A heiress should not associate with a traitor like him. He doesn't deserve your kindness. He hissed at her. Hinata looked at him in surprise, but before she could answer, he beat her to it. Hinata-sama, don't forget that Uchiha is responsible for severe injuries of nearly half of Rookie 9, you mustn't go anywhere near him. Blame at the sake, but Hinata felt a sudden spurt of anger. Nobody should judge Sasuke. No one had the right to do so. Ni-san, I know whom to associate with. Everyone deserves a chance. It doesn't matter what he was in the past, all that matters is the present, she glowered. It is the past that defines a man's present and the future. He was dangerous and he still is. He can't be trusted, Neji argued, trying to convince his cousin. Then the same should also apply to you, Ni-san, she said as she glared at her cousin. Neji paled. This was not the answer he expected. He could see that right now she was not the same Hinata he knew once. Hinata gasped on seeing her brother's shocked face. Realizing what she said, "En Neji ni. Sorry, she stuttered, horrified at her own words. Neji shook his head. It's fine, Hinata-sama, you are right. I said this because I was worried. I apologize for shouting at you. Hinata felt her chest tighten. She hurt him so much. She shouldn't have been so harsh. She hugged him tightly and apologized once again. Neji tensed at Hinata's actions, but then he held his cousin in his arms. Hinata-sama, it's all right, I'm not hurt anymore. Further, it was nice to see you angry at once, but you looked no more intimidating than a rabbit, said Neji as he laughed in a hope to make her smile. Hinata's eyes widened. She lifted her head from his shoulder to see if it was Neji. It truly was. The stoic prodigy of the Hyuga clan, who was considered to be emotionless, was laughing at her. She pushed him away and folded her hands to her chest. Hyuga Neji, you just insulted the Hyuga princess and now you must face the consequences. And what is the punishment, princess? Neji smirked at her antics. He was relieved that Hinata let go of what happened earlier, but still it hurted his pride. I'd love to wipe that smirk of yours, Ni-san. Hinata thought to herself as she said, then, you must confess your undying love for Tenten-chan. Neiji's face turned a bright shade of pink as his cousin walked away giggling to herself on seeing his blush. How did she even know that? Shit, he cursed himself for blushing in front of Hinata. He never knew he could blush like that. How was he supposed to even look at her now? Meanwhile at the Hyuga house. The youngest Hyuga rummaged through her wardrobe to find a nice outfit for the evening. She was annoyed with the fact that none of her clothes suited her tastes. All her dresses were either too formal or too dull. The girl wanted to impress her teammate Kanamaru. How she wished Hinata was here to give her some suggestions. Hinata had the perfect body and looks for any dress that she secretly envied. Instantly, Hanabi closed her wardrobe and ran to her sister's room in hopes of getting a nice dress for the evening. On entering Hinata's room, she found several maids cleaning her Nei-chan's room. Hanabi-sama, is there something you need help with? Asked a young maid who was changing the sheets. No, continue with your work. Hanabi said as she opened her sister's wardrobe. She didn't want them to poke their noses in her business. Furthermore, she had to find the best dress to impress Kanamaru and win his heart. Hinata had wonderful dresses. Lots of them were gifts from her father, Kurenai-sensei, teammates, friends and visitors. But her sister always chose to wear a big loose purple jacket. Hanabi found the dresses of her choice from her Ni-chan's closet, but they were too loose for her, as Hinata had a curvy figure compared to Hanabi who had a lean figure. Shutting the doors of the wardrobe, Hanabi then rummaged through the drawers. She found several old unused dresses of Hinata. Smiling victoriously, the brown-haired girl pulled out a blue dress that was tucked in neatly. Huh? It's not a dress but a shirt? It didn't look like her sister's since it was too big. Also, she never saw Hinata wear a shirt. She lifted it to examine when she found a symbol. At the sight of the Uchiha fan on the back, Hanabi stared blankly, blinking her pale eyes as she took in the sight of the emblem. Uchiha Sasuke and Hinata Nichin. Impossible. Her Nichin wouldn't do that. And no, not with Sasuke. The long silence that followed was broken by the sound of several gasps from the maids in the room. Hanabi tensed on forgetting the fact that she wasn't alone in the room. If her father got to know about this, then Hinata will be in trouble. She quickly balled up the shirt and hid it inside the closet, not before scolding the maids. Stop dallying and do your job. Yes, Hanabi-sama. They immediately engaged in their previous tasks, afraid of getting scolded. The young heiress walked out of the room quickly, thinking about what could have happened between the last Uchiha and the eldest Hyuga heir. Nei-chan, what have you gotten yourself into? Sasuke bit his tongue as Hinata left him to chat with Kakashi Hatake. He knew that the old man's piercing glances at him and Hinata were nothing but suspicious. Even though Sasuke was grateful to the man for being a mentor to him, the thought of Kakashi pissing him off for the next few minutes was unbearable. Damn Hinata for leaving him alone with an old immature pervert. Trouble in paradise? Kakashi questioned with a playful smirk that went hidden. He had a feeling that Sasuke could see it much more clearly than he let on. A flicker of annoyance flashed on Sasuke's sculptured features before he crossed his arms over his broad chest. I'm not in the mood for small talks. What's got your undies in a twist? Shut up. Sasuke seethed, his dark menacing eyes glaring daggers at his nosy teacher. Now stop being a bastard in front of your teacher and calm down, Kakashi chuckled as he sat next to Sasuke and took a glass of red wine. You're being annoying. Sasuke bit out, menacingly. But I didn't find you annoyed a few minutes before with a certain someone. You don't need to know what you don't know. But I came here to teach you things you don't know so that you don't mess up in the future. It's a bad thing to my reputation that if one of my dear students is not well versed with certain complicated things of life. Sasuke raised his eyebrows at his sensei. What? Kakashi's visible eye was narrow and creased at the corners as he smirked beneath his mask. You know the same thing I gave to Naruto. Icha Icha Volume 14. Sasuke's left eye twitched. I will shove that up your. Oh, calm down, boy, I didn't know you have an interest towards that domain, then I'll refer you. Sasuke's ears turned pink. Shut your trap before I Chidori it. Kakashi chuckled and got up. I was simply helping you with your youthful life and thoughts, but be careful that it doesn't deviate to a certain person, Sasuke. Suddenly, an emotion akin to playfulness lit up the ex-Avenger's dark eyes while a smirk lifted the side of his lips. I didn't get deviated, Kakashi. The deviation itself came to me. Kakashi raised his eyebrows. I hope this deviation doesn't create a war in Konoha, Sasuke. You know, Sakura's. There was no harm in telling Kakashi, especially since he'd need him in knocking a few heads of that damned Hyuga clan. Not Sakura, but you know this Kunoichi. Hyuga Hinata. Sasuke. Not a word, Kakashi. Not in the academy anymore to hear your lectures. With that, Sasuke got up and walked away. Kakashi could sense something was fishy. He thought Sasuke would casually throw empty threats and walk away, but this was new. Why can't this village have a peaceful life for once? As the celebrations ended, Naruto and Lee had thrown up. Neji was the one taking care of them, although he wished against it. Tenten, who stayed sober, was with Shikamaru helping Sakura and Ino to get on their feet without falling. Shino took Kiba home, who drank too much and fussed about Sasuke. Speaking of Sasuke, he was nowhere to be found. Hinata guessed that he must have left early. The night was perfect to match her mood, cold and lonely. The never-ending black abyss brought her comfort in a way the bright sky of the did not. For some reason, she didn't want to dwell on that thought, especially when her mind kept reminding her of ruby red eyes. Then the image faded back to onyx pupils, caging her to the wall. Sasuke. In her heart, she had a feeling it would come to this ever since they sat down at the diner. She would need Sasuke's help in escaping the seal, but did he really want to marry her? No, there must be some other reason. Something deeper. Young as she was not naive to think that he was to gain nothing from their union apart from the council issues. For now, she would have to put that in the back of her mind. There were other, more pressing matters to attend to. Sasuke. He was really a mysterious person to her. She never had talked to him. Not even once. It's just that she was busy chasing Naruto. But Sasuke wasn't as bad as she thought. He was much more than what people said. Much more than a cold, brutal S-class criminal and missing nin who was driven by revenge. Somewhere she saw warmth in those black orbs. Deep inside he was nothing but a broken man. A man who was wronged in every way. She realized that Sasuke wasn't bad, perhaps it was the circumstances that made him like this. She was so engrossed in her thoughts that she failed to see the Uchiha standing in front of her. She realized only when her head hit his hard chest, while warm hands wrapped around her waist to prevent her fall. You get lost too often, my love. Shall I get you a map? Hinata's face tinged red at my love. She looked up as his hands rested on her waist. His eyes glinted with mischief. Not that she hated that, but now it was her time to shine. Why should boys have all the fun? Probably not because I'm planning to get lost in your eyes. Sasuke's eyes bulged at the unexpected cheeky response. Hinata gave him a sly smirk. Good going, Hinata, you surely flustered him. She didn't know if it was alcohol that gave her this confidence, but she enjoyed his astonishment. Now that she stood near his chest, she noticed that his chakra was different. His color was a lot darker than others, just as Naruto's was a lot brighter and warmer. Sasuke's was cold and lonely, making her want to reach out and touch it. Though Hinata knew he felt her eyes on him, she couldn't help but admire his beauty. The strong jawline, smooth skin of his neck, and for a second, she was lost in the beauty of how his muscles tensed when her eyes ventured downwards. She stared at the long eyelashes that framed his onyx eyes, which were now examining her. Did he catch her checking him out? Way to go, Hinata. Now you look like a creepy Hyuga heiress, she berated herself mentally. Smiling nervously, Hinata stepped back, keeping her head bowed. Out of the corner of her, she saw him looking at her intensely. Sasuke took a moment to trail his eyes to study the way her long hair was carried in the breeze and the way her eyes slid up to his for a moment. She sure was a mystery box like him. He liked her this way and he wondered if she showed this flirty side of her to him only. "You are getting flirtier, princess." Hinata lifted her head up and said, "Well, I have to catch up because I'm marrying the king of flirts." Sasuke chuckled. He liked this. No, he loved this version of hers. Sweet and spicy. "So, you prepared to get hitched? None of your suitors interest you?" Hinata shrugged, as the soft breeze blew her long hair. "None, Sasuke." "That's a shame," he said as he brushed his hair backwards. "And why is that?" she asked him, curiously. He turned back and walked forward as she joined him. After a pause, he replied in a deep voice with a flirty smile. "I like a little competition, Hina." The heiress blushed. She didn't know what exactly caused her to blush. The fact that he would get into a fight for her or the fact that he called her Hina. Whichever it was, she didn't care, for her brain couldn't think properly as her heart was beating wildly. As soon as the blinds were opened, sunlight brightened the room. The birds chirped as the sun shone brightly. It was almost time for breakfast, but she was still hungover from last night. Last night, Sasuke had walked her till the Hyuga mansion, although she didn't want to inconvenience him. Throughout the walk to her mansion, not a single word was exchanged. But Hinata was okay with it, because at times like this, silence was comforting. Walking in the moonlight under the midnight sky alongside him, Hinata mentally sulked over the fact that she caught the Sasuke fever, which apparently many fangirls have. She walked outside her room to the dining area, assuring herself that it was a very natural reaction after spending some time with a handsome man. She was so engrossed in her thoughts that she forgot to acknowledge her father and sister who sat across her in the dining room. Hinata smiled to herself and poured the green tea into her cup before she heard someone clearing their throat. "Nichin is lost somewhere, Oto-san," Hanabi said as she gave a piercing look at her. "Gee, good morning, Oto-san, Hanabi-chan," Hinata said to compensate her lack of attention towards them. She bit her lips as she had let her thoughts take control over herself. "You've been sneaky lately," Hanabi commented. The elder Hyuga did not reply. Quietly she sipped from her cup of green tea, careful to keep her yukata safe from tea spill. "It does seem you have been the last few days," Hyashi added lightly before taking a bite. "I went to Ino-san's party, yesterday. Neji Niazan was there too," Hinata ventured. She avoided the details about a certain someone. It made her uncomfortable enough that heat rose to her cheeks. Swallowing hard, she lifted the tea to her face again, aware that Hanabi's eyes were trained on her. "I heard the Uchiha was also there," her sister murmured. "Yes, he is a part of our team," Hinata replied gently, smiling. Hanabi's jaw worked for a moment, though Hinata doubted she was chewing. "I didn't think the Uchiha would attend functions." Hyashi sipped the tea as he looked at his eldest daughter. "Who knows, Oto-san, maybe he came for a certain someone," Hanabi muttered as Hinata could feel her sister's piercing gaze. "Well, of course, his former teammates were present too." Hinata looked away as she smoothed the wrinkles on her yukata. "People may accept him because Naruto and Kakashi are there for him. But you stay away from him and his good-for-nothing life," Haishi interrupted before Hanabi could reply to what her sister said. The atmosphere in the room was suffocating. Her father and Hanabi wasn't making it easy. If things were like this even before they knew the truth, then what would happen if they knew it? "Father, I know very well who to befriend and who to stay away," Hinata replied. Deep down, she was angry at the fact that her father still treated her like a child who doesn't know what's good and bad. She never directly opposed her father like this, however, she sincerely thought that her father was wrong to uphold that opinion. Everyone deserved a second chance, and this included Sasuke as well. But deep inside, she needed this hatred towards Sasuke so that she can rebel them. Not even in their wildest dreams would her father and the Hyuga Council think that their meek heiress would bag a S-class criminal as their son-in-law. As Hinata sat there still maintaining eye contact with her father after the disagreement to his words, Hanabi was shocked. It was for the first time that she saw her sister disagreeing with father in such a manner. Hiashi held her gaze. His daughter was resisting his order for the first time. Something was wrong with Hinata these days. However, he did not have enough time to voice his opinion, as Neji opened the door. "I apologize for the intrusion, Hiashi-sama. However, the council requires your presence for the meeting." Hiashi nodded at his nephew. He glanced at his daughters one last time and walked away. Hanabi internally thanked her Ni-san for saving Hinata from her father as he walked away from the room. As her father left the room, Neji walked over to Hinata and asked, "Where were you last night? Wasn't I the one who escorts you after every event? Why didn't you wait for me yesterday?" Hinata racked her brain to find some believable lie when her sister said, "Ni-san, I think she found a new escort who could walk her till the Hyuga mansion." Neji turned his face towards Hinata while Hanabi looked at her with sly eyes. Hinata mentally prayed that Hanabi didn't see them yesterday. This was not how she wanted her to find out. "I don't understand, Hanabi. I came by myself." "Ni-san, I'm old enough to walk alone." "Oh, I thought I saw an imaginary handsome man with." "What? Which man, Hinata? Who dared to walk beside the Hyuga princess?" Hinata sweated as she watched Hanabi smile. Now it was for sure. She saw Sasuke yesterday. "Neji, no one would do that. Besides, I assure you I can take care of myself. By the way, I and Hanabi decided to go for some shopping. Can we, Ni-san?" "No need to ask permission, Hinata. Hanabi, don't create unnecessary scene in the market and trouble your sister." Hanabi stuck her tongue at Hyuga Neji, to which he smirked back. As their brother left, the youngest dragged Hinata to her room and locked the door. "Hana-chan, what happened to you?" Hanabi opened her cupboard and took a piece of cloth and threw it onto her bed. "What happened is this, Ni-chan. How did this come in your drawer? Don't tell me it flew from Uchiha-san's dresser and magically appeared in yours." Hinata gulped. Lying there on the bed was the shirt she borrowed from Sasuke. She had forgotten to return it. "Hanabi, this. I'm not mad at you for having a relationship with Uchiha Sasuke, Ni-chan. I just didn't like it when you chose to hide that from me. Am I not your secret keeper anymore?" Hinata felt sad that Hanabi thought that way. She went over to her and hugged the girl. "No, Hana, I will never keep anything from you." Hanabi looked at her with innocent eyes. "Promise you would never?" Hinata smiled at her sister and said, "Promise." "Promise, anything I ask you will answer?" "Yes, Hana." "You will not lie?" "Never." The youngest Hyuga then jumped away from her and questioned curiously, "So tell me all the details. Did you and Sasuke do that thingy?" Hinata's face tinged red completely. What thingy, Hana?" Hanabi took the shirt in her hand and gestured towards Hinata. "Come on, isn't it obvious? Why else would you have his shirt? Wait, he came here and you? Oh my god." Hinata wanted to bang her head somewhere for all the wrong thoughts her sister had. "Hana, no. Finally, my sister is getting bold. Tell me, Hina-ni, I want to know more." "Nothing happened, Hana?" "Nothing." Hanabi stood up and said, "Fine. I'll ask my brother-in-law, then." Hinata's eyes widened at what her sister meant. She screamed, "No way I." Hanabi was taken aback by her sister's strange behavior. Leaning in, she whispered, "Why? Do you want to keep him all to yourself?" Hinata opened her mouth to deny it, but Hanabi quickly covered it with her hand. "Sis, I haven't given Sasuke my approval yet. Tell him to meet me tomorrow at 5 p.m. at Konoha Bakery. I need to see if he's worthy of being my brother-in-law." "Hanabi, there's nothing between us. You're overthinking this. You might be able to fool Neji Ni-san, but you can't fool me, Ni-chan. You'd need 5 more lifetimes to do that." With that, the youngest Hyuga dashed off to the garden. Hinata sat on her bed, contemplating her next move. Stopping her sister was impossible, Once Hanabi set her sights on something, she would get it. Hinata decided there was only one option left. Train Sasuke to be the perfect brother-in-law for Hanabi-chan. Meanwhile, Hanabi raced to the ramen shop and grabbed a certain brown-haired boy by the collar. "What are you doing, Hanabi?" A very hungry Konohamaru asked as he was about to enjoy his freshly served ramen. "What am I doing? Look at what you're doing." "I'm hungry." "Sit and talk, Hanabi. My special ramen is getting cold." Hanabi sat down, giving her friend a strange look as he devoured his noodles like he hadn't eaten in years. "All you think about is ramen. Do you even know what's been going on in my life lately?" Konohamaru glanced at Hanabi, still chewing. "Andmw had his thwat? Would you chew and then speak?" Konohamaru quickly swallowed, surprised by Hanabi's uncharacteristically polite tone. "Okay, Konohamaru, now come closer." Konohamaru blushed at her sudden words, thinking Hanabi had finally noticed his charm. When the realization hit, he couldn't help but blush even more. "You shy idiot, come here." Hanabi dragged him closer so no one could hear their conversation. "This is an S-class secret. Don't tell anyone until I say so." Konohamaru nodded, gulping as he saw the activated Byakugan of the youngest Hyuga. "My sister and Uchiha Sasuke are dating." "What?" Konohamaru shouted so loudly that the entire ramen shop seemed to shake. Hanabi smacked him on the head and pulled him back into his seat. "You idiot, didn't I tell you to keep it to yourself?" "But Hanabi, I can't believe it," Konohamaru protested. Hanabi activated her Byakugan, and Konohamaru quickly relented. "All right, I get it. I need your help, idiot. Tomorrow, you and I will meet Uchiha-san and evaluate him." Konohamaru tilted his head, confused. "Why do we need to evaluate him? Moron, I need to know if he's worthy of my sister." "And Sasuke will agree to this?" Konohamaru asked skeptically. "If he doesn't, I'll kick his ass." Konohamaru smirked slightly, knowing Sasuke wouldn't dare refuse. Hanabi was too intimidating. "And Konohamaru, prepare some solid questions for the perfect boyfriend and brother-in-law. I also need a review chart and a checklist. Mission: evaluate Uchiha Sasuke starts at 5 p.m. at Konoha Bakery. Be there on time." Konohamaru gulped but didn't show it. Hanabi was treating this like a Hokage interview. He jotted down the details on the back of a ramen receipt, while Hanabi smirked at the thought of grilling Sasuke. "Dear future brother-in-law, you're in for a rough time for winning over my sister." Guys, I hope you enjoyed this part. Stay tuned for more. Thank you and always grateful. Anime Dreams.